Okay, I'm going to call to order this special meeting of the Board of Education. Mrs. Hutchinson, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Crabtree? Here. Mrs. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. Gambiani?
Here.
Mr. Hanlon?
Here.
Mr. Matheson?
Here.
Mr. Broman?
Here.
Mr. Paulson?
Here. Mr. Broman, would you please say the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have one outstanding action item, which is approval of the outstanding minutes, April 10, 2019, open and closed, and April 24, 2019, Committee of the Whole, open and closed. Any information? No. Any questions or comments from board members? Okay, can I have a motion and a second to approve the outstanding minutes of April 10, 2019, open and closed, and April 24, 2019, Committee of the Whole, open and closed as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Erickson,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Roman. Roll call.
Mrs. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Broman?
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree?
Yes.
Mr. Gambiani?
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon?
Yes.
Mr. Matheson?
Yes.
Mr. Paulson?
Yes. Approval of outstanding minutes passes. Next is recognitions and achievements. Board of Education members Jim Gambiani and Jim Broman departing tonight. Do you have any comments you'd like to start us off with?
Just one huge thank you. I think any opportunity when we're with the community, I think I've regularly said and mean that you cannot have a strong community without a strong system of education, without a strong system of public schools, and conversely, you can't have great schools without a great community. And it takes a system to organize that work, and certainly in our state and in our community, that's done through an elected school board, which is an incredible volunteer job that I know that outside of this room, I'm certain that few people truly understand the time commitment, the passion, and the dedication that it takes to serve on a Board of Education. And so tonight we're saying thank you, not goodbye. We're saying thank you to two board members, and I mean that because I know with Jim and Jim, with your connections to District 200, your passion to serve the students, I'm confident that we will stay connected to you. You will stay connected to our school district. And so on behalf of the entire District 200 school community, on behalf of our 1,800 employees, on behalf of our almost 13,000 students, we couldn't create the conditions of learning that we do without the leadership of the Board of Education. And so thank you for your 8 years of service. We've got a little certificate for each of you, and we will have a little celebratory cake here when we're done, but it just says the Board of Education Superintendent, Senior Leadership Team, and retired school leaders hereby recognize and thank Jim Broman and Jim Gambiani for your 8 years of outstanding service governing School District 200. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members would like to make any comments?
You go first. Jim, you've been a mentor, a guide, so approachable. You've always led with a clear head and never lost focus of our mission. And I thank you for that. The last 4 years that I've had that opportunity to serve with you. Jim, sometimes we approach things with a different lens, me with an education lens, maybe with a financial lens, but with a bottom line of always being the same, what's best for our students and our community. And I think both of you are leaving such a legacy with this board, with the moving of Jefferson over your 8 years of service. It's such a great legacy, so thank you both
Thank you.
for your service.
Can I be next?
Sure.
I'll start with Jim Broman, who has been my mentor in life. I met him when my first child was starting school and his youngest was starting school. And so Jim has been a mentor through raising children, Boy Scouts, and then I followed him onto the school board. It was a pleasure to be involved in your campaigns, to see you get started on the school board. And I told him at the time that I was considering running that if I was going to do this, I liked the idea of doing it when he had a couple of years left so I could do it under his tutelage, and it has been a wonderful experience, so thank you so much. And Jim, it's been a pleasure to get to know you, and I will echo with Chris, it's been fascinating to me, the dialogue that we've had in the last 2 years, and I really appreciated learning that it's possible to have respectful conversations and decision-making, even though you don't necessarily start at the same point as someone else. But everything that we have discussed over the last 2 years has been, I think, as Chris said, for the benefit of the students and the community, and I've appreciated your point of view on all the things we've talked about. So thank you as well for your 8 years.
So just a couple of things. I really appreciate Jim being on the board. And the reason, as a new board member coming on, the reason I enjoyed that one is Jim opened himself to me to meet before I ran. And we spent some time together. Is it the right thing? What's it take? What makes a good board member? And he was really honest and direct with me, and I love that. Second thing is, we see eye to eye on a lot of things, and the things we don't, the votes show it, and I think that's fantastic, because it shows we don't have group thinking. And that's one of the things governing bodies that are dying suffer from is groupthink. And having challenges and debate is so good and so healthy. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And we've all had points that we don't agree on, and we've all had really good debate about that, and that is a sign of a healthy board, and it's my desire that that continues, because that will just serve our community and our district, and specifically the kids well. So I appreciate that perspective, and I appreciate the collaboration on that. You really helped me a lot. Thank you. Jim, you took time to meet me. You know, all I did was listen. You know, it's a lot of wisdom coming from somebody, and you made me feel welcome. You helped me understand what makes a good board member, and you know, been very patient with as I've learned. And so I really appreciate your time and commitment to that and your partnership. Thank you.
You know, I usually have a lot to say, or, you know, maybe so tonight I'm going to be real clear, and I've pretty much said it all to both of you guys, what my thoughts are. And tonight I'm going to say real big, lengthy thanks. Thanks for serving.
Thank you, Jim. So on the last one, I gotta say, you guys are gonna make it hard on me. I can't just say Jim and get covered like most of them. I have to learn so many more names. I think pretty much everybody has said, you know, the wonderful things you've done, shared with this community, the commitment you've made. So I reflect back on 6 years since I've been on the board. It's remarkable what I think we've been able to accomplish. I hope in the next 2 years that we can continue that same trajectory. And I really value not only the work you've done, but the friendships that we've been able to be built. Jim Broman, I think you and I go back to 2006 when we joined the Hubble Referendum Committee. I never would have thought we would be here tonight. So it's been remarkable, and thank you. Jim, you know, everybody said everything that I wanted to say too, and I think you've been a great partner. Thank you. And I wish you the best. Any other comments? It's up to you guys.
if I didn't have a prepared statement, it would be out of the ordinary for me.
I was trying to set the table.
But I will be brief. 8 years ago, I sought a board position on a platform of fiscal responsibility and transparency. And once elected, my approach to board governance was to make well-informed, balanced decisions to ensure that the students, the families, district personnel, and taxpayers were fairly represented. During my first term, it became clear that many challenges faced this district. The list included building maintenance needs, capital improvements, a new Jefferson, unfunded state mandates, inconsistent state funding, and the overall financial health of the district. I, like my fellow board members, made these items priorities, and we began to make difficult but sound decisions that would not impact education, curriculum, and student achievement in a negative way. During my time on the board, I, like my colleagues, served on the Finance and Facilities Committee, and these committees were instrumental in bringing bold policy recommendations to the board to address the priorities of this district. Tonight I leave the board knowing that significant progress is made to address the district challenges. The Sherman-Durgis policy was instituted to address building maintenance and capital improvements. A fund balance policy, thank you, Andy, was approved to create a financial safety net for the district. A 4-phase debt restructuring plan was completed to reduce long-term financial obligations. The secured entry project was completed, and yes, a new Jefferson school was approved and funded without increasing taxes. These are just but a few of the many achievements the board and the senior leadership team accomplished in the past 8 years, and I'm humbled to have been a small part of these accomplishments. It's truly been a privilege representing the students, the families, and the taxpayers of District 200 for the past 8 years. And in closing, I want to thank my fellow board members, the senior leadership team, district personnel, and the families of this district for their support and trust in me during my years of service on the board. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
A little bit out of character tonight. I don't have written prepared statements to make. I apologize to my fellow board members and the senior leadership team who were at the farewell party on Thursday night. I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I said then. 8 years ago, when I ran for the board, largely because Susan and I have had 4 children who've gone through District 200 from kindergarten through high school. And they received a wonderful education, and each one of them is pursuing the dream and passion they identified while they were students here. I felt that I owed that obligation to this district. But as I mentioned Thursday night, that debt I owed has only grown larger over the last 8 years. This has been a wonderful experience. And it started with my fellow board members and the predecessor board members. As been mentioned tonight, we differed on things, we respected each other, but we always collaborated, and I feel at the bottom of my heart what we did was always for the betterment of the students of this district. And I had the privilege and honor of working with a senior leadership team that is just simply outstanding, headed by our superintendent. But I've been amazed with their dedication, their talent, their intelligence, and their patience with us as board members over the years. And that extends down to the buildings, the principals at each one of our buildings. I've had the privilege of meeting every single principal and visiting every building in the district. And what goes on in our buildings just amazes me. And with the leadership in our buildings, I'm confident that those great things will continue. And our staff, our teachers are just wonderful. They are so dedicated to our kids and to this district and to the principles of a good education. It's just beyond belief. The wonderful things that it's accomplished in our school classrooms has just amazed me time and time again. The parents I've met, through PTAs, through boosters, through just on the street, their support of this district is just beyond measure, and I'm so appreciative of that. And even the residents of this district who don't have children. As you've probably heard in the past, 3/4 of the residents in this district don't have children in our schools. But they support our schools. They're so proud of our schools, and rightly so, and I appreciate that. And most of all, the kids. It just amazes me from every time I get to meet them I have the pleasure of mentoring Mrs. McDonald's 5th grade class in their incubator program, and they're just wonderful. One of the best privileges we have as board members is when we recognize the children, our students who have exceeded in some capacity, whether it's sports and academics and arts or whatever. And those opportunities to congratulate those kids on their accomplishment I will always take with me. So I want to thank my fellow board members, Jeff, the senior leadership team, and the entire staff of this district, the parents and the residents for giving me the honor and privilege of serving you. Thank you.
Oh, just one final, Jim. And Jim, thank you, congratulations, and good luck. And don't go too far. Okay, now the board will adjourn CUSD in order to conduct a reorganization of the newly seated Board of Education. And I have a motion and a second to adjourn CUSD in order to conduct the reorganization of the newly seated Board of Education.
So moved.
And I second it.
Moved by Mr. Gambiani, seconded by Mr. Broman. Mrs. Hutchinson?
Mr. Gambiani.
Yes.
Mr. Broman.
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree.
Yes.
Mrs. Erickson.
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon.
Yes.
Mr. Matheson.
I'd like to say no, but I'll say yes.
Mr. Paulson.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Now we need the new board members, Susan Boone and Dave Long, to come to the table, take your seat.
Break up them.
You already have controversy. Okay, Mrs. Hutchinson, would you please call the roll for the newly seated school board?
Mrs. Booten.
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree.
Here.
Mrs. Erickson.
Here.
Mr. Hanlon.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Matheson.
Here.
Mr. Paulson.
Here. Okay, the first, I guess it's an action item, is acknowledgement, receipt of the certified election results, April 2nd, 2019. Any information, Dr. Schill?
Just in the board packet, you have the officially certified results from Jean Kazimierz, the DuPage County Clerk. So just a reminder, the Election Commission now falls under the County Clerk's office. So we got those certified results from Ms. Kazimierz, and I would recommend that the board accept those certified results so that we can move forward with reorganization tonight.
Okay, any questions?
I wonder, do we have to recognize Mrs. Crabtree as a newly seated board member as well?
It is in the, yeah, so the results that you'll be accepting this evening do indicate that the three top vote getters in the election were Susan Boone, Dave Long, and Chris Crabtree.
Thanks.
Okay. I will make a motion to accept the April 2nd, 2019 certified election results as presented. Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hanlon. Mrs. Hutchinson?
Mr. Paulson.
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon.
Yes.
Mrs. Booten.
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree.
Yes.
Mrs. Erickson.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Matheson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Next is the oath of office, and I don't remember how we're supposed to do this. Do we all stand up?
Yeah, so our,
That's our practice.
yeah, the board has obviously a policy that the oath of office is administered to newly seated board members. It has been the practice of this board that the entire previous boards, that the entire Board of Education recite that oath together, as you will be beginning this journey together as you establish the new legacy of this board. So in the past, you've just all read this together, so nobody's going to lead you through it. You have a copy in your folder of the the oath that you will be reading, so if you wouldn't mind taking that out. And I would suggest that you kick everybody off.
Okay, we're never in sequence on this, and this is, all right, I guess we're gonna stand. So when it says name of school district, Community Unit School District 200. So, I, Brad Paulson, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 200
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois, to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual, and that decisions can be made only by majority vote at a public board meeting. I shall abide by majority decisions of the board, while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation in the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Community Unit School District 200. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community schools to advance the vision for Community Unit School District 200. And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district for fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal growth.
All right. How do we sound? It's like singing happy birthday. Okay, so now we need to appoint a temporary president. Can I have a motion and a second to name Dr. Schuler as the temporary president to preside over the election of a new president?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Crabtree,
Second?
second by Mrs. Erickson. Mrs. Hutchinson?
Mrs. Crabtree,
Yes.
Mrs. Erickson,
Yes.
Mrs. Booten,
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon.
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson.
Yes.
Mr. Paulson.
Yes.
Okay, next three action items are the election of the board officers, and so at this time, I'm going to ask for nominations for President of the Board of Education. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Brad Paulson for officer, or to be Board of Education President.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing only one nomination, we do not need a second, so I'll ask for a roll call vote on the nomination of Brad Paulson as President of the Board of Education.
Mrs. Booten,
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree,
Yes.
Mrs. Erickson,
Yes.
Mr. Hanlon,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Paulson.
Yes, all right.
That is the shortest presidency in history because I'm now going to relinquish my chair to Mr. Paulson.
First up, thank you everybody for the confidence in me and leading this board for the next 2 years. So next, I will ask for a nomination for Vice President of the Board of Education.
Move Chris Crabtree be appointed the Vice President of the School Board.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Matheson. Moved by Mr. Hanlon, sorry, seconded by Mr. Matheson. Any other nominations? Okay, Mrs. Hutchinson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hanlon,
Yes.
Mrs. Booten,
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree,
Yes, I agree.
Mrs. Erickson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson.
Yes.
Mr. Paulson.
Yes. Next up is the nomination for Secretary of the Board of Education. Are there any nominations for Secretary? I'll nominate Rob Hanlon. Have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have any other nominations? Okay. We'll ask for a roll call vote on the nomination of Rob Hanlon as Secretary.
Mr. Paulson,
Yes.
Mrs. Erickson,
Yes.
Mrs. Booten,
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree,
Yes.
Mr. Hamlin.
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson.
Yes.
Okay, congratulations, everybody. The new board has one action item, which is to adopt the Board of Education meeting calendar for the 2019-2020 school year. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt the Board of Education meeting calendar for the 2019-2020 school year as presented?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Hanlon,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Crabtree. Any questions or comments?
Just one point of clarification for the board. So we have followed what has been the traditional calendar of the Board of Education, that you meet on the second Wednesday for your business meeting. There are 5 months where you have a committee of the whole meeting that will be devoted to monitoring of our strategic initiatives, monitoring of the board's dashboard and goals for the year. We built into your calendar the 3 chat with the board sessions, so one at each of the high schools and then one here at the School Service Center in January. The one thing I just wanted to point out, make sure that the board is okay with it, is that both your January meeting and your April meeting, just based on where those fall in the calendar, that board packet will get released on the Friday of what is a break from school. So the board packet will get released on the Friday of the second week of winter break. The board packet will get released on the Friday of spring break. So I just want to make sure that the board knows that. We're good with that from the administrative end in terms of the prep of that, but I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that from the board.
Okay. Mrs. Hutchinson, you have a vote?
Mr. Hamlin,
Yes.
Mrs. Crabtree.
Yes.
Mrs. Booten,
Yes.
Mrs. Erickson.
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Matheson.
Yes.
Mr. Paulson.
Yes. Okay, the Board of Education meeting calendar for 2019-2020 passes. Are there any public comments? No. Thank you. Okay, there being no further action to come before the board in open session, ask for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mrs. Boone, second by Mr. Long. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Adjourned, the meeting is adjourned.